This season has been emotionally charged. We had to make some really important choices. I was apprehensive about purchasing Dominion, but it appears that this investment was worthwhile. From long, icy days spent in the Yukon muck until the instant they hold gold in their palms. All season long, Parker's group has put up a strong fight. Breakdowns, inclement weather, and long hours in Season 15 tested their limits. However, they have finally received the paycheck they had been pursuing. Big figures and even bigger dreams marked the beginning of the season. 10,000 ounces of gold were the original aim. That's the kind of objective that sparks conversation. However, as the weeks passed, reality set in. Additionally, that goal had to be reduced to 8,000 ounces. The crew was still a long way from hitting it, even with the reduced number. Nevertheless, Parker Schnabel has managed to express one thing. He has been mining for 14 years in a row, and he has never set a goal and failed to achieve it. People continue to watch to see how far he and his team will push themselves. Because of that track record alone, it's easy to question why anyone would still choose to live a life of picks, shovels, and heavy machinery in today's technologically advanced world, searching for gold hidden deep inside the earth. However, this is more than just a job to Parker. It is the life he has created. Every season, he leads his team out with the goal of extracting that sparkling payoff from the ground. Some people didn't believe in him when he first began out. However, he has demonstrated over and again that he can turn raw material into actual profit. My crew and I collided with the earth. Move aside. Back up, please. You can leave if you're not satisfied. The door is never closed. The chat has ended. The chat has ended. Parker and his team were able to mine 6,837 ounces of gold by the end of Season 15. That is approximately $18.3 million. Naturally, a significant amount of that money will be used directly for operations, including fuel, equipment, repairs, maintenance, and all other expenses associated with operating a large-scale mining operation. That's still a staggering amount of money to make in a year, even after expenses. The majority of people will never see that kind of sum in their lifetime, much less in a single season. Parker's season was far from a loss, even though the final number might not have reached the target. He notes that they gained a great deal of knowledge about the land they were working on, and that information is equally as important as the actual gold. Equipped with that knowledge, he is certain that they will return the following season with a lofty objective and the will to achieve it. Although it may seem easy to hear now, it required an incredible amount of effort to get to that 837-seat haul. For the season, every member of Parker's crew gave it their all. This is not your typical job. Not at all. They endure long, torturous days out here, frequently putting in 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, while enduring some of the most severe circumstances conceivable. They had no choice but to continue when the weather suddenly turns against them. And there are other difficulties besides the weather. They rely on large, intricate, and costly machinery. Furthermore, there is no easy solution when something breaks. Well, all of my goals are now ruined. I have no one. No one is in the area. Everyone is under pressure as each breakdown prolongs the already brief mining season. In actuality, not just anybody can perform this work. Sticking it out requires a specific kind of grit, and many individuals would fold under the strain. Apart from the gold itself, the pay is what makes it worthwhile. Despite the long hours and difficult working conditions, Parker's team is aware that their boss is straightforward, honest, and equitable. He has established a reputation for being honest about the company and ensuring the well-being of his employees. And receiving that payment at last is more than simply a paycheck. After a season like this one, it is evidence that the long hours, mud, and fatigue were all worthwhile. Parker understands the importance of diligence. In terms of managing his company, he also ensures that those who work hard are adequately compensated. His crew hires entry-level miners for about $28 per hour. Compared to many other blue-collar professions available today, that is already significantly higher. However, there is a catch. Given that mining is already regarded as one of the most difficult occupations, it is clear that working for Parker is not an easy task. Under Parker, an average work week consists of over 75 hours. Long days and occasionally night shifts are part of that. During the season, vacation time is scarce and usually brief. Physically, the labor is demanding from beginning to end. Therefore, $28 per hour suddenly does not seem extravagant at all when you consider the circumstances, the timetable, and the effort. In fact, given what they endure, some would argue that these workers deserve even more. What do we have then? Everyone is outside. I don't want to keep them waiting too long. Parker can reach his 7,000 season goal with just 174 ounces. All of that work adds up to figures that make the slog worthwhile when payday eventually comes. In 1 week, an entry-level employee on Parker's crew can make about $2,590 in gross pay. When you contrast that with many modern employment, it's easy to see why individuals put in the long hours. That comes to about $65,000 over the course of a season. And that's before deductions or bonuses are even taken into account. And that's only the beginning. The median hourly wage for Parker's workforce is more like $34. More competent workers can earn considerably more, particularly those who run heavy equipment or oversee other team members. The season's pay for some of the more seasoned crew members can range from $80,000 to $100,000. By the conclusion of the season, those figures are plenty to make anyone happy and provide them a bank account that proves all those 16-hour days were worthwhile. System of salaries. In addition to their regular pay, Parker's team is motivated to work as hard as they do by another significant consideration. Because his business is based on a performance-based bonus structure, they can earn more money the more gold they extract from the ground. Because they are aware that they would receive additional funds at the conclusion of the season if they meet specific goals, the system keeps everyone inspired to perform at their highest level throughout the season. Parker is aware that maintaining his team's high level of productivity day after day would be far more difficult without these perks. This isn't limited to the employees on the ground. It also holds true for several management-level roles. The findings, which are consistent from year to year, demonstrate that the approach is effective. However, this arrangement is not equally advantageous to everybody. Certain jobs, such as entry-level workers or night truck drivers, are completely ineligible for bonuses. The earnings are their only source of income. This is due to the nature of their labor and the degree to which it directly affects output and the mine's overall profitability. It makes the gap between those who can make more money and those who can't obvious. This appears to be a lovely collection of recently acquired plants. You have to be aware of everything. This means that a lot of people will be watching it. We're going to give it water. I hope that works out. We'll start adding dirt and observe how it reacts if it does. However, it is just the way things are in this sector. But Parker isn't the kind to abandon his troops in a state of hardship. Even those without bonuses enjoy several privileges that are extremely helpful when working under such difficult circumstances. While on site, all crew members receive complimentary housing and meals for the duration of the season. This may seem simple, but it takes a lot of work to provide lodging and food for a whole team in such a harsh and isolated setting. Parker bears the full cost of those charges, and he should be commended for it. By paying for those expenses, he fosters a strong sense of community among his employees, in addition to assisting them in saving a larger portion of their income. Living and dining together fosters friendship, and the success of the mine and Parker both greatly depend on this sense of teamwork. For weeks or even months at a time, these crews work in the field. Therefore, when things go hard, that sense of belonging keeps spirits high. The mix of bonuses and pay can be amazing for the highest earners. In a single season, some of them can earn up to $150,000. Even while only the highest-paying jobs achieve these figures, and the majority of these high earners are Canadian, it is still an amazing living, particularly for those who are prepared to work in one of the harshest locations on Earth. It is a configuration that honors diligence, and Parker's team is renowned for working harder than others. Many people think that working for him is like packing 18 months of work into 6 months of mining season. The crew is physically and mentally spent by the conclusion of that pace. which is as taxing as it sounds. Parker is aware that the upcoming season will be significant. He informs his team that their ability to meet their objectives by the fall will depend on the effort they put in during the spring. The first few months are filled with a lot of writing, and everyone is urged to put forth their best effort and see if they can finish the task. The pressure that comes with running such an enterprise is even more intense than the already high physical and mental demands. However, there are significant benefits for those who can manage it. The workforce of most mining operations depends nearly exclusively on the money they make from the gold they extract from the earth. There is an additional revenue stream that has a significant impact for Parker and his group. The Gold Rush television series, which has emerged as the leading brand in its field, features their work. Their wages are significantly increased by appearing on the show, which pays considerably. The compensation per episode can range from $25,000, $30,000 for mining executives, like Parker Schnabel and his contemporaries, Tony Beats and Rick Ness, for each episode they participate in. Even those at the bottom of the pay scale, such as supporting cast members, can make almost $10,000. Since there are about 20 episodes in each Gold Rush season, the total quickly mounts up. A crew member's earnings from television alone might range from $200,000 to $600,000 over the course of a season. Naturally, not everyone on TV receives an equal share of this revenue. Newcomers must establish themselves before they can negotiate greater wages, while established actors and seasoned cast members, like Parker, naturally command the larger portions. That's just the way the company operates. Nevertheless, the money from television is just one aspect of the situation. Parker still has the majority of the financial burden of managing his mining business. Thus, he bears a large portion of the risk. However, the adage goes that the more the risk, the higher the profit. Parker's earnings from gold mining alone are estimated to be between $600,000 and $1 million. In addition, he has a number of other sources of income in his portfolio. These include everything from broadcast royalties and merchandise sales to sponsorships and guest appearances, each of which generates substantial revenue on its own. Despite all of these numbers, pursuing money is not the only goal. In the hard but rewarding world of gold mine, Parker and his team are motivated by the desire for opportunity, the difficulty of the labor, and the fulfillment that comes from seeing their efforts succeed. It is not surprising that many crew members decide to continue working with Parker season after season, given the attractive working conditions. However, nobody should think that this is a simple task. In addition to the advantages, Parker's coworkers are there because they have something to prove in one way or another. Every dollar is gained through labor that few others could manage, and the work requires long hours and difficult conditions. From addressing persistent leaks to fixing devices that eventually malfunction, Parker and his team consistently show that their compensation is well worth it. They have every cause to be happy with their work and their pay at the end of the season. However, this work's worth is not just expressed in monetary terms. Parker is aware that the true benefit comes from the teamwork that grows across a season. An example of this dynamic can be seen in the Gold Rush television series. It is evident that cooperating in the Yukon, or wherever Parker brings them, fosters strength, stability, and trust among the crew, even though some viewers might only be interested in the money. This explains why he has maintained the loyalty of so many men throughout the years. That commitment isn't based just on their accomplishments. It also stems from the increased regard that the team members have for one another. Fair compensation is undoubtedly helpful, but the relationships made at work produce something much more durable. Parker's leadership and the culture he has created at work are evident in his ability to retain his staff year after year. The resulting sense of brotherhood motivates the group to take on new difficulties and accomplish new objectives. They demonstrate year after year that professionalism and perseverance pay off in mining, and in the connections they have made along the way. It is astounding to consider how the young upstart, who made his debut years ago, has grown into the formidable force that he is today. When Parker made his first significant breakthrough in Season 9 of Gold Rush, many started to take him seriously. He finished that season with a haul of more than 7,400 ounces of gold, breaking the singles season gold extraction record. As he traveled the world in search of more gold, his career was characterized by a string of highs, punctuated by the occasional disappointment. Parker earned over $8 million during that historic season. He was driven to surpass his own accomplishments, so instead of slowing down, he pushed harder. The following year, that's exactly what he did, making almost $10 million the next season. It's interesting to note that this was due to Parker's increasing desire and determination, rather than the fact that they discovered more gold. Even as the COVID-19 pandemic stopped the rest of the globe, his resolve remained unwavering. In a year when most businesses were failing, Parker broke his own records and brought in over 7,500 ounces of gold, which translated into almost $14 million in earnings, while many were confined to their homes. Parker and his staff maintained their focus, despite the difficulties posed by travel restrictions and workforce limitations. Despite the tremendous pressure to meet and beyond expectations, they met it head-on. There were no assurances in the gold fields. Nevertheless, the group tackled each challenge with perseverance and experience. Despite the challenges they faced from the beginning of the season, they were nevertheless able to recover about 39.75 carats of gold. This accomplishment established yet another standard for the group. They were striving for even more success. By the time season 13 rolled around, eventually bringing in roughly 118 ounces that year. Even while it wasn't a record-breaking amount, it was plenty to generate large profits and solidify their status as some of the show's most prosperous miners. The fact that Parker completed all of these accomplishments before to turning 30 just serves to highlight how remarkable they are. He had already established a reputation for taking calculated, audacious chances that paid handsomely, when many others his age were still determining their future course in life. Parker had established himself as a prominent player in contemporary gold mining and was no longer merely regarded as the grandson of one of the most renowned gold miners of his era, John Schnabel. He was one of the most well-known figures in the sector due to his reputation as a competent strategic mining supervisor. Parker never said that gold mining was simple. Even with his success, he has frequently admitted the dangers and difficulties, appreciating his good fortune in getting to this position. Although some may attribute his beginning to familial ties, those relationships were unable to protect him from the harsh Yukon conditions or the other hard workplaces he has worked at. Every obstacle, whether brought on by harsh weather, malfunctioning machinery, or unproductive locations, was overcome with perseverance until a solution was discovered. Parker and his team have repeatedly demonstrated that perseverance and ingenuity can transform obstacles into successes. They have demonstrated that even in the face of several failures and unsuccessful attempts, there is always a way forward. Audiences will continue to pay close attention to Gold Rush as long as they pursue this unrelenting goal. Curious to see what Gold Parker and his crew discover next.